In this tutorial, we are going to look at Extension Pack 6R2's new combined selection feature. You can find this by right mouse clicking on a selection group in the selection group palette and choosing the option from the context menu. The basic functionality is of course explained rather quickly. You select the groups you want to combine, you mark them for processing by ticking the checkbox, you specify your new selection group name down here, and then you either click the first Combine Selection Groups button, which will delete the selected groups after they were combined into a new one, or you choose the second button, which will just create a combined group and leave the selected ones alone. So here, as a result, I have my new combined selection group now. So why bother with watching a whole tutorial, you might ask? The Combined Selection Groups dialog is the first extension pack feature that utilizes its new advanced expression search feature. So a good chunk of the time will be spent going over this. It's worth sticking around for that one, as for example the new selection group filtering found up here in the selection group palette uses the exact same expression filtering. And in general, more and more extension pack features will start using it after, so it's worth familiarizing yourself with the concepts. However, we will leave this for the end of the tutorial and first cover the rest of the interface. To control row selection and row activation statuses, we have a couple of quick access buttons here. For example, to select all rows or select only rows that are marked with a checkbox tick. A tick checkbox means they will be part of the combine process. The activation buttons then deal with setting checkmarks, for example, to invert all activated states. You can also change multiple rows by simply selecting them and then making a checkbox change, and all selected rows will change accordingly. This is the same as pressing this selected button up here. All of these quick access buttons have tooltips with their hotkeys, which follow general conventions, I would say. For example, select all would be Control A, Control D would be unselect all, etc. For activation, we would use the Alt modifier instead. So here with Alt A, you would activate all rows, and Alt I would invert the activation and so forth. Now let's start talking about filtering. The search bar here allows you to do both basic word searches as well as really complex expressions to drill down on specific selection groups in large scenes. The Combined Selection Groups dialog is unique in a way as a large number of the expression variables are also available as buttons to the left and right of the search bar. As with the buttons down here, all these buttons also have tooltips with convenience hotkeys. The first set of buttons targets the type of selection groups you want to display in the list down here. Mari has different selection group types depending on which component mode you were in when you saved the selection group. The component mode is usually set in the project controls toolbar or by right mouse clicking in the viewport. So we have phase mode, meaning you are in polygon mode, patch mode, which selects entire UDIMs, and of course object mode, which selects the full geometry as listed here in the object palette. Subsequently, disabling this first button, which is the phase mode in the combine dialog, will only list patch and object groups in the list of selection groups. Turning off the patch groups as well will then leave us with only object selection groups. Next we have scene visibility, where you can limit the display of selection groups based on their visible or hidden states. Those states mimic the state of selection groups here in the corresponding palette. And you can also see them in the scene visibility column of the dialog. Then we have active filters. When turned on, this just shows you any selection group that has its combined checkmark set. Of course, only if it matches any of the other search criteria as well. So if I tick this phase selection group on here, filter for active groups, and then turn off the phase group filter, then nothing will be shown in the list. But I get this warning down here that some active selection groups are hidden by filters. To the right here we have path search options. When you import geometry into Mari, using for example the Alembic or USD file format, Mari will auto-create selection groups for you that match the geometry structure and hierarchy within that file. In this example here we can see we have all the different groups and subgroups for each object in the file, represented as a path structure in the created selection group names. The path search options allow you to search in the path and object name separately, with the first button activating the hierarchy name search and the second button activating the object name search. Let me add a search term head as a filter. We end up with those three groups that all have the word head somewhere in their name. However, since I'm only interested in the group that has the object name, so the very last part of the name as head, I will toggle the first button off, and then I'm only going to search for the word head after the last slash in the group name, so within the object name. All these filter buttons are certainly convenient, but sometimes you need even more control, which is where the search bar comes in with its advanced expressions. The search bar not only allows you to do all of these filter operations that the buttons do, but you can even target those global filters to specific words. Everything I'm about to explain is also listed in the tooltip of the search bar, and for even more details you can find examples in the online help. In its most simplistic form, you enter a word to search for in the text field, and the selection group names are parsed for occurrences of that word, while also evaluating any of the active global search buttons here. We can also search for multiple words by a comma separating them, which will act as a OR operator. To string together multiple words that must be present in a selection group name, you can use the plus operator. For example here, head plus ears. To exclude a certain word from being eligible, you can prefix it with an exclamation mark. So here if I type body, I get all of these groups. And now I want to exclude this full body group, so I can do body plus exclamation mark full body. Now let's get into some more complex searches using variables. If I want to have all selection groups with the term body displayed, but only show face selection groups, I can do body plus $face. If I want to show any matches that are not face selection groups, I can invert this by typing body plus exclamation mark $face. And now I will get all groups that have body in their name and are either object or patch selection groups, so not face groups. We have other variables that we can use, such as $vis to target only visible selection groups, $act to target only groups that have an active checkmark set, etc. And again, you can find all these variables in the tooltip. Variables can also be used in global mode. So what does that mean now? If I do $patch, head, body, then the $patch acts as a global variable, applying both to head and body. So it's the same as doing head plus $patch, body plus $patch. Finally, let's talk about the path search using the expression fields, which is similar to those two buttons here, but allows much more control. Our path search begins with $/, followed by what we want to search for. So we could do $/head, and we end up with those three groups that contain head. By adding more slashes, we can precisely specify after which slash we want the search to begin. So with $/head, we start searching after the first slash. With $/head, we start searching for head after the second slash. So if I want to isolate this group here, where I have head as object name, I would need to do 3 slashes. An easier way in this case though is prefixing it with an exclamation mark. If I do exclamation mark $/head, then we will start counting slashes from the back of the name. So this term evaluates everything up to the first slash, but from the end. If I add a second slash, then it evaluates this and this, etc. Alright, last thing to talk about is some housekeeping before we wrap this up. Over here we have a quick way to clear the search field assigned to the del hotkey. We also have a auto-completion history on this search, and if you want to clear this history, shift-click on the clear button and confirm this dialog and the history will be gone. This covers this tutorial. Thank you for listening.